Wrecker.
Hey, man. How you doing?
This is so weird. We're here in this room.
I'm looking at you right now. It's really, really weird. We've never been in the same room before.
I mean, your whole body, not just your head. And we have our buddy Philip Hukal here with us.
Hi, hello.
Hi, Philip.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
It's we have to get used to this. So, people, we are actually in a recording studio here at AOM.
Mm-hmm.
Our good friend Attila Marton, he organized this. I don't even know where we are, but it's a proper recording studio, and I like it. But it's very weird because we've never been in the same physical space.
No, let me set the
before.
stage. We get off the metro. It's a very nice neighborhood in Copenhagen. True. And then you go down a dark alley. And at the end of the dark alley is this house.
It's a shed.
And then, and we're like, where's Attila taking us? So anyway, this is beautiful. So we're in a studio. Yep. And we figured we have this opportunity to be in a real studio and be together. And we thought it would be a really fun thing to reflect on, because we were just talking on Saturday about some of the sessions that we were in. Here, we're at Academy of Management. It's the CTO divisions, and they do these PDWs, these professional development workshops for 2 days. And then now it's the papers. So like Saturday, Sunday is PDWs, which is...
To me, are always the highlights. This is the best feature of the AOM. The papers, but the PDW is still really cool.
Yeah, the papers are good, and that's how you get here. You send a paper and you get in, and that's how they'll afford to send you. But the PDWs, you get speakers, and then you either break up in small groups or they have a panel or some combination of these things. But let me tell you a story. This is one of the things that inspired it. This I think, was kind of scholarship or academic discourse that just made me really happy. And it was Saturday, and you were there. And it was on computationally intensive theory construction, the CTC stuff. And there's this guy, Vern Glazer. Yes. He's not an IS guy. He's a management guy. He's really good. He's like an institutional theory dude.
Yep.
He's very
thoughtful.
Super thoughtful. And he's one of the biggest advocates for using large language models to do stuff. He thinks
do research,
Yeah. He thinks we should be leaning into these things. We should be using them. We should, So and by the way, that was a theme across so many sessions here in the last couple of days. But so he's talking about it, and he's taking a very interpretive stance to how to do, how to use these tools. And it's like an interpretive device that we're going to use with us. And then it seemed like Natalia Lavina was up there. She was agreeing with him. And then Kalle Littinen raises his hand and says, well, while it's coding your data for you, how about iterative reliability? Vern's like, well, we don't subject our things to iterative reliability. We have an interpretive stance.
We can do whatever we want.
And you could tell he wasn't satisfied. It gets down to Natalia. She kind of agrees with Vern.
Yeah, basically.
And then we get to this dude who I didn't know. Who's the guy?
Well, he's Anton Golowitz. I didn't know him before, but he's an applied psychologist. At BI Business School, and he was also on the panel. And he just stepped up and said, like, I'm sorry, but I fundamentally disagree with all of you.
Yeah.
And then he gave a very powerful argument about, why it does matter, why it's doable, and, why we can share data, we can replicate, we can do all of these things. So, it's not that it shouldn't matter, it does matter, and we should attend to it.
Yeah, and we have to establish validity.
Yeah.
We make an inference. We have to establish validity was his argument. And Vern is like, well, yes, but we don't need these statistical techniques to establish. But the thing that I love, stepping back from this scenario, is these people were super friendly before to each other, super friendly afterwards. They'll see each other. It's cognitive disagreement, right? It's people. We all want valid inferences. We all want good theory. We all want to use these computational tools. So it's about constructive discourse. It's academia at its best. It's intellectual discourse.
So you were sitting in the front. I was sitting a bit further back. I was just listening, which is, by the way, my favorite mode in these PDWs. I don't want to be up front. I actually want to sit in the back and take notes and listen and get some ideas, which was nice. So listen to this. I'm not even sure what my position on this topic was. So and then Anton spoke up and he gave his a very powerful argument, and I was like, Youngjin was next to me. It's like, that's a really good argument. And then we both, who is this guy? And so we heard the idea first, the argument first, and then we looked up the person. Yeah. And it's like, and then later I went up to Anton, and it's like, man, I really liked what you were saying there. This is like I think I agree with you. Yeah. Right? I didn't know what was my position up beforehand, but yeah. Anyway, so this is a good story. That was a good thing of saying, like, there are contrasting ideas and they coexist, and they both have merits.
You know what I love what you just said You said I didn't know what my opinion was beforehand because you don't really pay attention to that CTC stuff that much.
No.
But you're like, I didn't know what my opinion was, but here you saw some strong forms of different opinions up there. And on the way out, you formed an opinion. You're in a camp now.
So let me tell my story. So this is a day early, a different PDW. And again, we were both there. We were actually both in the front and had, I guess, panelist roles. And we all threw out different ideas. The context of that PDW, organizing for AI, which is another theme that was everywhere at this year's AOM. Anyway, so we all throw out ideas, and some of them, more carefully developed or not, whatever. You made fun of my slides, which is funny.
Oh, all right. No. Philip, this is Recker presenting. Now, first of all, we might have been out late the night before. So maybe he didn't prepare his slides like he should.
Said the guy that had no slides.
Well, she told me I didn't need slides, but bullet points, a bunch of different bullet points. Like he would have a circle bullet point and then a long sentence, then a dash bullet point and a long sentence. It's like 2-3 slides of just words. It was we wouldn't let our students get away with that, right?
Well, to me, they were like notes for me to talk. Anyway, so if that's the worst criticism, that you didn't like the format of my slides, I can live with that. Anyway, so you actually cracked up during the presentation. You started laughing. And I thought that was actually a nice thing because there was an intellectual debate going on. There were very different ideas.
You know why I cracked up? Because Stefan was next to me and he said he needs more bullet points. more types of bullet points.
Let's get back on track. So there were some ideas, and we were meant to do provocations. And like for at least what I put up was literally meant to be a provocation. I was like, look, we should get rid of this idea of roles because it's annotative. We should think about it very different, more like a process. Not sure how well I put everything, but that was the idea. It was meant to be a provocation. And there was some debate happening, but there was also fun. Yeah. Because, there was this fun about how shitty the slides was. In the end, someone made a joke about age. So anyway, and this stuck with me because I felt like that's how it is. It's because it's an intellectual debate and people disagreed quite vehemently about several of the points, including this weird thing about roles that I talked about. But
nobody
was also
liked
fun.
it. Yeah.
No, nobody liked it. But it was also fun, and it was safe, and everyone felt I felt it was a very pleasant session. The only thing that we disagreed upon was content, and I thought like, well, that's.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Phil.
So first of all, I think we owe your audience an explanation why I'm here. This was not planned.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah, this is
You're our buddy.
This is wrong. And because I'm your buddy, I thought there would be an opportunity for me to be in the audience because I thought this is a live recording. Well, there's no live recording and there's no audience. And so then you just trapped me and said, sit down. Okay, let's see. But what I can do, I think I can ask a couple of questions. And my first question relates to your first experience because you said there was this comment by Anton, what's his name?
Yeah, Golitz.
Right? And if I look at this, it has all the ingredients to be something that can also derail the discourse and the conversation, right? It's someone that is not core to the field, someone that you didn't know, and it makes a completely contrarian argument. So I would love your reflections for why you think it hasn't led to the discourse in the session to break down. Why did it continue?
Well, I can answer that to some extent. So I know Vern Glazer. I don't know him well. We were at a thing at Kin together a couple of years ago. And here's the deal. The guy's an intellectual. This is not a lightweight. This is not, and Natalia Levina and Kalle Lieutenant are not lightweights, right? These are serious thinkers, and they care about the topic that they're. So I think that's what happens when you get these serious thinkers. Nobody takes offense. There's not they don't take it personally. It's about the idea. Recker, who many think is a serious thinker, is
not.
He brings up roles, right? He's provoking. He knows what he's doing. He knows, and much of the engagement after you had your talk, and what was your word?
Entitative.
Beautiful word, and it actually has impacted my thinking since then, right? I think this idea of an entitative view of things, like you have an entity-focused view, as opposed to like processes and dynamics and that sort of thing. And I think that is, and your argument was, it's actually a freaking beautiful argument that we have kind of pre-AI and entitative view of things, like default of humans and their roles and that sort of thing. So maybe there's some sort of dynamic relational kind of argument but the point is not your argument. The point is it created some discussion.
Yes.
And you threw out the provocation. I don't even think you had a fully formed opinion necessarily.
No.
You just wanted to provoke. But it engaged, and people were taking multiple sides of this and saying, and I actually took the side that you need roles, and roles are institutionalized. I'm not sure I'm married to my idea because I really liked your idea, but I felt like we needed some of that. And frankly, if someone doesn't like my idea, I'm good. I don't take it personally. No one's saying, Nick, you're a jerk. They say your view of roles is flawed, right? So I think that's the beauty of solid academic discourse, that if you care about the subject at hand, you play with ideas, you think through ideas, and it's not ad hominem. It's not personal. No one attacked me. They're arguing with my idea, so let's make my idea better.
Well, it's not only that it's not that, it also shouldn't ever be like that.
Yeah, no.
Right? This is the good old thing that we level sometimes at, bad reviews. Bad reviews are reviews where people criticize the researcher, not the idea. So there is something to intellectual debate, and that to your point.
Let me give you
let me just
the reviews.
Quickly, yeah, well, before we get there, but let's Philip. I think that's the beauty of AOM. This is my second AOM ever, right? So I went last year and I really liked it, and I really like this one here in Copenhagen. And I think the beauty of that is that it gives an opportunity to bring an applied psychologist or someone from OB or some other dude that I've never actually listened to. And I get to hear their view of the world, even and especially if it's different from mine. I don't need I don't want to hear the same views. I hold them. I'm not getting further. But what I liked about his, I wasn't quite sure where I stand on the question of reliability of me using GenAI for coding qualitative data. I just haven't thought about this. And initially I thought I'll lean on Vern. Yeah, that makes sense. It probably doesn't matter that much. And then he gave a powerful argument. I was like, wow. So I think you need to be open to update your thinking, and then I think I was wrong, and I'm gonna think this way now, and that's what a person that is not from my field and views the world differently. That's what it does, and that's why I like AOM, because this is not what you get at ICES. ICES, it's not fully homogenic, of course. There's heterogeneity within the field, sure, but there's more heterogeneity here. Different field, different institutions, different rules, different way that people think about it. And I love hearing that. In the same way that I like really what Vern was talking about, because, again, these are ideas that I don't have. And I just like hearing different views, and they challenge me. Yeah. And frankly, that's frightening in a way. But yeah.
What do you mean it's frightening?
It's frightening. Some of the ideas, sometimes I listen in these PDWs, I listen to the ideas I would have never thought of that, right? So I'm not sure, not in this particular one, but I was in a different one about. I'll give you another example. I really like this one. Someone asked me today, what's the highlight of the conference so far, and I jumped immediately to a PDW on Saturday, which was about valuing, and value of something in the digital world. Georgia Meyer organized it. Yangjin was speaking. I was speaking. Laura, a colleague from Hamburg, she does sustainability research. She was speaking. We're talking about the environmental value of digitalization. But there's also someone speaking about, Avi was speaking about the economic value. And he's a student of Eric Brindlesoff. And he's a classic econometric guy. He thought about how to do a better version of the GDP. It's a classic way of accounting, a national accounting system, to speak better directly to to digital free goods and so forth and services. And everyone, there's Youngjin, there's other qualitative people, and they jump on him, and you this and this, and there's context lacking and all this. And I was sitting there saying, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, but Youngjin also, in his defense, and this is the beauty of these sessions, is that he goes, in the spirit of provocation, and then he started addressing what the guy said. And here's the funny thing, what you're talking about, Youngjin provoked, basically argued with him. They did that on the stage. 20 minutes later, I was walking down the street. I ran into the two of them, Youngjin and the guy who was criticizing, going to have a coffee.
Yeah,
great.
Exactly.
Right?
Great.
Yeah. Isn't that that's the most beautiful? Yeah. And then I get these new ideas. When I'm in the audience like that, I get these cool ideas. Like Marta.
Beautiful idea.
Remember? So she did a beautiful presentation,
Absolutely.
actually. And I just never thought of, she was talking about data and how people imbue meaning into the data that they're using to train the LLM. And I never thought of that before.
That's what I mean.
So when you sit there in these panels, it's not always these senior Youngjins of the world that are off their brilliant. Marta is an accomplished scholar and researcher. People know who she is right now. But it's like you can find wonderful insights all over. But I have a question for both of you. You mentioned reviews. Have you guys ever seen an ad hominem attack in a review? Like,
Not personally.
I've seen, this has been, well, sometimes as an editor, I'll see it, the reviewers will do it. And they'll say something like, this is written like a first-year PhD student.
These kind of comments. Oh,
Yeah.
Plenty.
Isn't that awful? Like,
That
what
is
they're
awful.
doing is they're not talking about your research.
Yeah.
They're talking about who they think would write something, this bad or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's awful. Whenever it's an ad hominem, like you are a such and such, then it's awful. But when it's your idea should be improved this way, and here's my reason for it, then that's the pinnacle of our field. All right, I'll give you guys another example. I was in this qualitative meta-analysis panel, and this is qualitative work where you reinterpret qualitative work qualitatively. Right? So I throw this little provocation out where it's like, well, we can use these LLMs. But if we use these, and everybody's talking about this for analysis, and as far as I'm concerned, if you use LLMs right now, do so carefully, establish validity, do some testing to make sure what you're getting, and make sure you document every single prompt and do it, right? So be a little, because we're right now determining what we can do. So I go up there, I say this. A little while goes by, and up goes this dude, Marcus. There, I'm looking up his name. Marcus Rieland from University of Lüneburg. So he's kind of a philosopher dude. He gets up on his turn, and he basically says, everything Nick said, I disagree with entirely. This is about qualitative meta-analysis. It's about a human constructing, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you should get out, and this is not a place for an LLM, right? So he got up and said that. So I gave my piece. He gave his piece. I'm like, that's okay. So the woman who's moderating, Stephanie, was like, Nick, would you like to reply? I'm like, sure. So I went up, gave a reply, and basically argued for how I think you can use an LLM or that sort of thing. Then at the end, Marcus had a little rejoinder where he kind of did a little bit of synthesis, whatever. But then afterwards, he comes up to me and shakes my hand. This is the second year I've seen him. He's a good dude. And he was just kind of joking, saying, well, I figured I'd get things going, and I'd made and what he was doing was making the strong form of the opposing argument. Whether he believes in it or not, he was making the strong form, and then they invited me to respond. And it's like, what we're doing is there are people in the audience who maybe have perspectives, and this is helping them form their perspective. It's helping them think through strong sides of both. When there's a little conflict, a little cognitive conflict like that, all right, that's the best.
So I think the cognitive conflict breeds ideas. I know it does for me because it challenges my thinking and it forces me to update my assumptions. And I welcome that. And I have no problem with then saying, I changed my view. And I know I wrote this 3 years ago, but now I see it differently. Because now I had some arguments that were leveled at me that I buy, and I think they're better arguments. And, and then I'm changing my view. So, for example, I have changed ontologies in my career, in a way, right?
Because now you're an American pragmatist.
No, but I'm
Philip, you are, right?
I
Almost
do
got
think
us
that
both,
some of this relational, processual, moving away from entitative thinking, I find that very useful for several things, not for all things.
It's intriguing. It's a
right?
cool view.
And if you could go back and say, but Jan, you 20 years ago you wrote papers about things that have properties, and properties have relationships, and blah 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 blah, and you modeled these things, which is also true. And I found that useful to this, but it's got to be okay to update your views, and for that you need someone to challenge your views. But you need to do this in a very safe space, and the safe space, to me, really is connected to fun. I'm having so much fun here these 2 days. People ask me I enjoy this. Oh yeah, I'm bouncy, I'm flippy, I'm loud. I'm enjoying this, and in this enjoyment, in this fun, this is why I told the story about how we had a couple of jokes, and I thought that really made this session a lot better, because you can have a fun joke, and it's not unprofessional or anything like that. You can, like in the podcast, you can use a swear word, you can make a joke. What this does to me, it creates actually safe space to explore ideas, and then we can discuss the merits of ideas. I had so many people here that you get people that come up at the conference and hi, thank you for the podcast. I listen to it all the time. I disagree with you many times, and it's like, that's good, isn't it? I don't want.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. I don't anticipate, and I don't want people to believe us all the time. No.
Well, they should believe us, but they don't have to agree with us.
Yeah.
I think we're authentic. Neither of us are up here lying or
No.
About being nice and it being a contributor to safety, I think that's super important. I once brought a colleague of mine who was an economist to one of our conferences, and after the first session, he turned around and looked at me like, "You're so nice to each other," right? But I think it contributes to people feeling, as you say, safe enough to ask questions.
Well, I've heard economists are just brutal to each other.
Well, there are many reasons for that, but I think.
But that's also why I always say, like, this is why I like and I love our field. I really do, and I mean it, because frankly, we're a nice bunch. I don't know the economists too well, but you ventured into the E&T division. They're not as nice. I'm sorry, right? For whatever reason, and I don't know. It's not that they're unnice or anything, but we are particularly nice people.
We're nice, but we
treat people
disagree.
we disagree very much, fundamentally, on many things, but in a respectful way.
Respectful construct. And this is, so here's the problem. And this is what these days, every year when I go to AOM and hang out in the PDWs, I always do, right? Why did I become a professor? Why am I doing research and scholarship? We get too bogged down sometimes with papers. I need another paper. I need another paper. So-and-so, my student needs a paper. And it's almost like papers, I know papers are the unit of knowledge and they're the evidence that we're being productive. But that's not why I became a professor. Writing papers is the price of admission. The pursuit I get to have is intellectual pursuit. I get to think for a living. Yeah. I get this ridiculously luxurious job of thinking for a living. And then here I am with a bunch of other people who are thinking for a living, and they're thinking out loud together. Like, that's kind of the perfect thing for our lives, isn't it?
Yeah. Sure. I'd be interested in your views if good intellectual discourse can be learned, right? Because in my first question, both of you resorted to some idea of not seniority, but experience to deal well with these situations, to be okay that this is about the subject matter, not about the person, right? And I think there is some learning that has to happen to dissociate this. I still sometimes have trouble with this, whether it's a review comment or a comment in a conference, to take that second, like, this is not about you. This person doesn't know you. It is not about you. It is about the work. But it takes me that second to think myself in that space. Yeah. And I've also made the experience that when I ask much more senior people, that I am much more anxious, apprehensive, asking critical questions than they are receiving it. They are cherishing it. Yeah. You mentioned Youngjan. I had a situation with him where I was scared to ask him a question in public, but he welcomed the discourse. He welcomed the challenge, and he dealt so well with it. Obviously, he does. Right? Yeah. He's generous and kind. Yeah. Right? But anyways, it gets me to the question: like, it needs to be learned, as my assumption, and can it be learned? And if so, how? What would be it?
It needs to be learned. That's for sure. I think we would flip things and we probably need to teach it a little bit better. So for one of them is you get your first couple of review packages, and you need to learn to dissociate yourself. Like, this is not about you. This is not personal. And, frankly, of course, this is easier if it's really not personal. If there's a ad hominem attack in the review, then that's obviously very difficult. So, and that comes with experience, to the point that I sometimes forget how harsh that can be to read that for the first time. So that we can teach. We can also obviously teach to speak and write in ways that are not personal attacks. I think that can be learned and needs to be learned as well. The one thing I would add to this is I think with time, what I find is I'm more appreciative of some of the works of other people, even if I disagree what their paper is about or whatever, because I know how much work that is and how difficult is it, etc. So I find myself running around a lot. Like today, I bumped into Emma Vast. I've actually never met her. This is the first time I met her, and Rana was like, Emma, there you are. And I just want to say, I'm such a huge fan. Well, I'm not using her ideas. I don't even agree with me, but I really appreciate the type of work that she's doing. I really do. I'm a big fan, and I say this to lots of people because it's true. No, that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with all the things. I think, frankly, some topics of some people are boring, but boy, do I appreciate the things that they do. And for a long time, and and we tend to forget that. We tend to forget how hard it is to organize a conference. I tend to forget how difficult it is to organize a PDW and all these sorts of things. And I think with time you understand, because you've done it yourself. You realize how much effort that is. And I appreciate other people doing a good job. And then I go up and say, like, thank you for your work.
All right. So, Rucker, you didn't quite answer his question, though. Right? Philip asked, can you teach it? And there are two possibilities, right? One is that senior folk, that this field kind of selects the type of person who can do that. And I think there's some of that there. Maybe it's not everything.
What do you mean with that?
I think the type of person who, like, I've known Young Jin now for, 20 years. And from my first meeting with him, he, at any time, when you're out late at night or when it's 10 o'clock in the morning in his office and an idea happens, he wants to engage the idea. It's not about him. It's not about the paper. It's not about it's about the idea. He will engage that idea at any time, any place, whenever. He gets excited. He gets mobilized about ideas. I think he was probably that way before he ever got his PhD, right? I think that's just what he is. He's like he generates ideas. He wants to talk about ideas. And at any point he will. So I don't think he has any baggage about his ego. I think maybe, if you're an academic long enough and there are enough people, like he's part of this Korean community and they all bow to each other. So you have people bowing to you for 20 years or something. Maybe you get ego, but I think the ego follows success in some ways. So I think this field, the really good scholars are inquirers, and they are really interested in ideas, and we select them. They're the ones who end up being... Now, is that everyone? No, most of us are not Young Jins in the world. So I think the rest of us, maybe the way we learn it is by getting rejections. And then when you get a bunch of rejections, you have two choices. One is, go do something else, because this sucks. You're getting rejected a lot. I can't even tell you how many rejections I've had in the last 20 years, right? It's like ridiculous. And many of them are unfair. Many of them are harsh. It's just, right, Philip, we had a rejection. We just, Wrecker, you and I just had 2 rejections last week.
Yeah. I'm actually having a bunch of them. I have a really bad patch of them.
Yeah. So Philip and I had one, 4 or 5 rounds in or something? It was crazy.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a harsh one. 4th round, right?
Yeah.
And you and I, we had a 3rd round basically a week later. What a bad patch that was.
I had a 6th round rejection once in my life. It's like the most brutal thing. So this is what happens. Some people are just like, screw it. I'm not going to do that. After you get a little bit of that and you stay with it, you just get numb to it. No one can hurt you anymore after some point. So it's like we self-select on the Young Jins of the world, or we get the me's and we just beat on them so that when they come out the other side, it's like, go ahead, criticize my idea, criticize my paper, criticize whatever. It's all good. I'll just pick myself up tomorrow and or learn from it and make it better. Right?
So can I tell one story also that's something that I've reflected here. So the things I do at the conference, so I like bumping into people. I like what I like about AOM and compared to ISIS, which I also like, is that you get these other people that you don't get to see. And then I go and sometimes selectively go and I want to go to this person because I want to hear him talk or her, or right?
Yeah.
So
because you read their papers, you want to see what they look like.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to be about what they're like. Exactly. Right? So that gives you an opportunity.
And do you ever see that? There's one person I thought was a man. I've used her papers quite a bit. I saw her at a thing last year, actually, and it's like a woman. Like, how's that? So, I don't know.
What a crazy story. But so the other thing, what I realized, I wasn't very happy with my performance, let's put it this way, in the PDWs. So not so much the one that you're talking about, the one with the roles. Beforehand, on the Saturday, I was in 2 other ones. And where the point that I was making, again, is meant to be a provocation. I take that seriously. So provoking. What I did was basically criticizing how we're doing things. I said, like, well, this was both about the twin transformation, like digital and sustainable, which is one of the areas I'm doing. I was like, well, look, I look at what we're doing, and this is not very good how we're doing this, and this is not very good how we're doing this. And afterwards, I don't like that I did that. And why don't? Because it's criticism, and I think it's warranted and fair, by the way.
Yeah,
but it's not very helpful.
Criticism's weak. Yeah, anybody
exactly.
can criticize.
And I'm really like annoyed with myself because I could have used that platform to come up with one idea going forward, one positive idea, one suggestion, instead of saying like we need to do better, which is effectively what I said. And I'm annoyed by that. And and yesterday when we had a dinner and we talked about the value of positivity, and I was like, I'll never do that again. I don't want to be a guy that runs around criticizing and saying like we need to be better.
So this was Young Jin.
That's a weak. It's a weak argument, and it's an easy argument.
So Philip, last night at dinner, Young Jin made kind of a virtue ethics and Aristotelian argument at dinner that I loved, and I won't be able to do justice to it. But he said something like, "There are those who see the worst in their fellow academics, right? I guess they criticize, they think that they're corrupt, they think, and he doesn't want to be one of those people, and it's about him and the type of person he wants to be. And he's like, I'm going to be one of those people who sees the beauty in this, and I'm doing a bad job, but I'm going to seize the beauty in this. It's intellectual pursuit. It's intellectual, and I'm doing it with a bunch of virtuous colleagues, which most people in our field are. They're virtuous, they're constructive, they're kind, they're generous, and cognitive conflict. So I think that was really beautiful.
It was very beautiful. It was very powerful, and I took away like the two things. Number one is not even construct. I want to be positive. I want to have a new idea. Now, the idea might not be good. It may not stand the test of time. I can live with all of that. But all of that is still better by by pointing out all the flaws, which is kind of what I did. And I'm really annoyed by this. And the other thing is I want to courageous. I want to be bold and courageous.
Well, you've heard the Teddy Roosevelt quote. It's not the critic who counts. It's not the one pointing out where the strong man errs. It's the one in the arena.
It's the one in the arena in the dust.
With will never count himself among the cold, timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Right. So there's a great Theodore Roosevelt quote. It's the man in the arena, but it's that. Mm-hmm. And what you just said is the critic is weak, and he is. Criticism's the easiest thing to do. What's hard is to be that man in the arena, marred, sweat, say something original, try to argue for an entitative. Non-entitative, whatever your word is, view of roles, right? That's you're in the arena when you did that with your crappy slides, right? But you had, you were like, all right, I'm going to play with this idea and I'm going to do it in front of an audience. It was a packed room and I'm going to do it in front of my colleagues and I'm going to argue for this. And that's the man in the arena. You made a point as opposed to just pointing out how the strong man falls.
So, Philip, does any of this resonate with you? Or is this just ramblings of old people here? You know what? But this is seriously. I've been talking about this for 2 days and 2 nights straight, exactly this. If you think, what is my big takeaway from AOM or this? Is on the one hand, there's
he just asked you a question and now he's answering it.
No. But I'm wondering if you're with us, right? So sort of is that something that the consensus is really?
So I want to be positive and generative. It can be both. No, I'm joking. Of course it is, right? Why I'm taking notes and maybe why I'm listening more is as a first time. Long time, right? I was wondering whether we can mint this into Recker's rules, as you famously do in the podcast.
Ooh, Recker's rules for
taking a couple of notes on what it would take for a good discourse. And I think there are a couple of things that you touch upon. And maybe I can just
Philip's Recker's rules.
Philip's rules, propositions, Philip's policies. Nah.
Right. What are
no, I don't need to insert myself in this. So Recker's rules is fine. No, so we can just put this. I put this in front of you before you, and just quick fire things. Okay. So Recker's rules for good intellectual discourse needs to be generative. You said you want to
move things forward.
Yes, you provide things for others.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Positive, of course, but that's sort of that was our point of departure for today, right? Then I'm circling around ideas of safety, and I liked what you ended with, Jan. It being not self-deprecating, but you in the arena means that you are also putting things forward that are still work in progress, where you're showing that you, even someone like you in your stage of a career, in your seniority, are vulnerable because you are workshopping ideas, right? Mm-hmm. Does that resonate?
It does resonate. And I think that's an important one because I don't know about you guys and you, Nick, you're different in that regard, but I do feel vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And because I'm very conscious that I'm going on stage and there will be people that, I'm not sure they come because of me, but there's people that come and listen to this, and that puts a little bit of pressure because, oh boy, you're on stage and you're supposed to say something, good, whatever that's supposed to mean. So that makes you vulnerable. And that's why I think, to me, this means courage is important, because you need to be courageous instead of timid. And then that's why I'm frankly pissed off with myself, because when I prepared, which I did actually for this PDW, I thought it would be a good idea to say these are the things in which we've probably taken the wrong path. And let's not do this going forward. But in a way, that's just it's a weak use of that platform, and I'm annoyed that I've done that now, right? So it's not, right, next time I'll do it better. So I like the idea of no, you can move the discourse, we can have the debate forward by having an idea, a positive idea that is then in contest. So let the idea be in contest, right? Not me contesting the things that we've done, but just throwing out a new idea and then seeing how these ideas battle.
So I think that's one rule. One of Recker's rules is going to have to do with cognitive conflict versus some sort of affective conflict. Like, it's not ad hominem. You don't take it personally. It's all about the idea. That is clear. The other thing is the vulnerability or the humility or something like that. And I think I see it a lot with junior people when they present, and then there's someone who maybe throws a suggestion out, or they do one of their big questions that's not really a question, it's just a statement, and they're showing everything they know.
It's not a question, it's just a comment.
Yeah, but they do that, and then they feel like oftentimes junior people have to defend.
Yeah,
but I just did this because da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, you actually, when that dude kind of criticized Vern Glazer, I saw him. He like looks back, kind of nods, kind of smiles. He's not attacked. He didn't, and then he didn't like respond and defend. He just kind of like, all right.
Coming back to the point of it being learned, right? Because junior people like me were trained like this, of course, right? In the beginning, you have to earn your table stakes, and you do that by, amongst other things, by positioning and defending your work, right? And also defending it against some pushback. That's also part of the skill set that I think you have to acquire as a junior academic, right?
I wrote an email, like I was in a PDW with actually a paper development workshop where we submitted something because we wanted to get feedback on the paper, except that we didn't. So I wrote this email to my co-author who's not here, and it's like, actually, sadly, not good feedback. Everyone just liked it. Right? Like that's also a point. Like, I want to have a challenge because what good? Like, I don't need someone saying like, "Hey, awesome." No. I know it's not.
Tell me what I'm missing.
Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me a different way to think about it. Please do challenge it. So I think
give me something to read.
Right?
Give me a book I haven't heard about.
Yeah,
that applies
exactly.
To,
give me some other way to look at the world. And look at this paper. Look at what we're doing. What our ideas. Don't tell me it's a good one. You know. So that's what I think.
So Recker's rules: cognitive conflict, courage, humility.
We're missing one important one.
Criticism, I think there's something that we have to play around with the link between criticism and provocation. Because I really like the provocations, like what Marcus did, in that I loved it. I think it was wonderful. But was he criticizing me? No, because he was arguing with me.
Yeah.
Arguing is not criticism. Provocation is not criticism. I guess it's criticism of the idea, but it's creating an alternative argument. So you have presented an argument. That's argument A. If you're going to argue with me, you have to present argument B.
Yeah, constructive.
You can't just say, dude, argument A sucks. You have to say, argument B is my preferred course, and here's the standard by which, and here are the criteria that I use. So you have to give an alternative. And I think that's the issue to your criticism argument, is you were just criticizing. You were not giving an alternative.
Like, I did a little bit of it, but not, right? So so I want to bring up one more that we haven't talked about, and it's respect. Mm-hmm. And I say this because as we were talking that we're going to talk about this today, and I prepared a little bit. I was reading up on what makes an intellectual debate, right? And what do you find?
Wow, you prepared today?
Yeah, and it said three things basically. Three things. One of them it's based on arguments. Right, you make an argument and a counter argument, and there is something like there are better worse argument, and you make claims, and you have to substantiate your claims, etc. So it's an argument, not a discourse based on argumentation. Second, it's an intellectual argument. That means that it's an idea and it competes against another idea on the merit of the argument. And then the third thing that comes up in every single thing that you find on the internet on this, it's about respect. Mm-hmm. So it's a respectful argument about ideas. That's an intellectual debate, right? And the respect, this is not only it's not ad hominem. You treat the people that have other ideas and other arguments with respect, because this is not a street fight. This is not people commenting on a Twitter post or something. This is not it. We want to do that. We can go to Twitter and post all sorts of comments on all sorts of videos or whatever. No, this is an intellectual debate, and there are certain rules to this, and one of them is, and we haven't talked about this here, is about respect. And one of the ways in which you can say respect is what I go, and when I sometimes like, I really admire what you're doing, because I kind of get a sense of how hard that is and how difficult it is. And I'm not an economist, but that sounds like a really good idea, and what a wonderful design, and how carefully you've done this. I can admire that. And I can be very respectful, even if fundamentally with the way that they view the world and what they're measuring, I don't think it's a very good measure. But that's the idea, right? But I think what they've done, what a good way of doing this.
Yeah.
So I have to look it up, but we don't even need Rutgers rules, Philip. What you're saying is Habermas's rules for rational discourse. It's the idea of communicative action, and communicative action is the force of the better argument. So we're supposed to assume. So what he did is he compared, and I don't want to get too much into it, but he compared instrumental to communicative action. Communicative action is kind of what we're talking about. It's the intellectual pursuit of understanding. We're communicating in order to get some understanding. And the only criterion for moving this understanding forward is the force of the better argument. Now, what he acknowledges, and he calls this the counterfactual. He says what you expect, what you're saying is respect, is that we have to assume everyone else is also engaged in communicative action, knowing that some of them are in having what he would call instrumental action, right? They're trying to one-up the other person. They're trying to move their own careers forward. They're trying to, right? They're not actually just getting at the better understanding. They're actually engaging in strategic instrumental action. What he says is you have to pretend as if, and this is the counterfactual, that you are engaged. And we have to hold the community to this criteria that we have to work off of the assumption that everybody is authentically seeking communicative action. And the moment you start allowing for instrumental and strategic action is the moment the discourse fails in your area, in your domain, that it's no longer rational discourse. It becomes politics. It becomes something else, right?
I like that as an inspiration. And back to your point about what you like about AOM, Jan, it seems to me that this is largely the vibe here. I did not expect so many interactions across divisions. It's my first AOM, and I understand.
This is your first AOM?
I've had papers for a couple of years. I've never been.
Wow.
It's always in the middle of summer. It's always a bit awkward.
You got to start going. This is my favorite conference. This is the only one I'm sure to go to every year.
Yeah.
I'll skip other conferences. Never AOM. Next year it's in Philadelphia. So the city of brotherly love, where Rocky was filmed. You can get next to the Rocky statue.
Oh my God, I totally got to run up the stairs.
You got to run up the stairs, be next to the Liberty Bell, and you know the sandwiches they have in Philadelphia.
Oh, the Philly steak sandwich.
Yeah, so
so you're going to run up the stairs exactly once, and then you've got a cardiac arrest.
And then you have to put your hands over your head and jump. That's what all the tourists
do. That'll
do.
be part of an internet meme.
Yeah.
No, but I think this respect is important, and it's also easy to forget sometimes, right? Because, like as you said, like, look, we're hunting papers all the time, etc. That's just sometimes it's important to come together, and to me, this is a social thing more so than anything else. So there's a little bit of intellect. But for example, I rarely ever go to the paper sessions because I'll just the ones that look interesting, I'll look up and read them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need someone prepare shitty PowerPoint slides. For that.
So but some of them are great. And then there are these symposia kind of mixed in with the paper sessions. I don't know. I think the trick with paper sessions is you want to go to the people you know. And I'm probably bad at that now that I'm in the leadership of this thing because I have these meetings and stuff all the time. But usually when I go to a conference, I look at all the people I know. Like I'll see if Philip, are you presenting at this one?
Yeah.
When? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So I'll look you up and I'll go to your presentation. And so I think it's good to support your friends. And then when you're supporting, like I'll sit in Philip's thing because I'm there supporting him. And I may ask him a question like, have you considered the technology acceptance model, right? Or something like that.
Valid concern.
Yeah. But what's cool is then there are 3 other people. And I see their work. And I figure as long as I'm in here, I might as well engage with it. And you know my thing in conferences. Philip, have you ever heard my thing in conferences? I always try to give the presenter the gift of a question.
Okay.
And if no one's asking me a question, I ask one or give my thoughts. And most of the time, I will do that. The only time I won't is when I think it's really shitty work. Then I'm just like, all right, they did not do quality enough work.
So if you see Nick in your room and he's not asking a question,
well, or if other people are already asking questions, I let them. If a whole bunch of other people are asking questions, then I just let them do it. But it's like one of those things where if you're doing a thoughtful job and you finish. And as long as I'm in the room, I should hold myself to the standard of engaging with it enough that when you're done, I can ask a question or make a comment. But if other people are already doing it, then I just kind of pull back and don't bother.
Let me no one seems to be jumping on my respect thing here.
That's where I went with the mutual understanding. You have to assume everyone else.
One more argument for why I think it's important. We're talking about here communicating action and the discourse and how we talk another and let the battle of ideas continue. Sure, all of that is research, but research is also a craft. It's also work. It's actually hard work, right? And that's why I respect people doing in the hard yards and doing this work, right? Because it's not all talk. It's also people actually doing things that take weeks, years, months, and that includes your studies, that includes the writing, it includes the reviewing, it includes the organization, and all of that is actually hard work and takes a lot of effort, and most of that is not, it's not in your contract to do all of these things, right? It's one of the things that we do, a lot of the things not for free. We are getting paid, by the way, right? So that's why reviewing is part of the job, and no, it shouldn't be paid extra, whatever. It's just part of what we do, but it's still hard work, and it's a craft, and you need to, craft means you need to practice the craft, otherwise you'll lose it, right? And so there's also respect for the craft. There's respect for the work. I know we're not welding, we're not building things, but we are working, and frankly, we're working hard. And so there's also the respect that you got to say, like, look, I know this. You have put
this is hard.
invested.
Everybody's
All right. So this is also where the student comes up and does his first presentation at a conference based on their first study, and it's probably gonna be flawed just because you've never done an experiment in your life before. It's very unlikely they'll get everything right, but it's still a lot of work. So you deserve some respect for that. Yeah. Right? So that's also why the personal attack is so horrible, because we're saying, like, hey, you're not a good person. No, right? It's a craft. We all need to learn. We all need to practice, etc. And I respect that, even though this may not be the best research design for answering the question you want to answer, you still deserve respect for putting in the work. Right, and the reviewers deserve some respect for putting in the review.
All right, Wrecker.
So sorry, still no one here.
I respect you.
Okay.
Philip, this is what I just heard. This is Wrecker's plea for respect. He's like, Nick, will you just respect me?
Acknowledge
just acknowledge that I work hard.
Right. Well, at least Philip, like, you don't see these people, but Philip was nodding vigorously, and Nick was looking up something on his phone.
No, I was not.
And now I can see this because we're in the same room together.
All right, so I think Philip works hard.
Yeah, I know. I've worked with Philip.
Me
We
too.
have a paper out. Should we do a little bit of a, what do you call that? Like
A little plug.
a little plug.
Go ahead.
I'll plug it. This is the first paper that I know of in the field of information systems that seriously conceptualizes firmware.
Yeah,
Firmware
that's
is the link between the physical and the digital world, and it's such an important thing. It's so important. And then you guys have this beautiful paper.
All credit to
you
Julian,
conceptualize
who fought for the idea when we wanted to go sometimes in a different direction.
That is true.
He fought for that. He fought for the better idea, speaking of good discourse, and made a good argument, and everyone said, then we should go that direction.
And also, by the way, this is 5 rounds at this journal, 5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Rejected at 3 other journals beforehand.
Really?
This is, it's hard work. When did we start with this? 5
We-
years ago, 6 years ago?
The first paperthon, Nick, that you organized at
No way.
ICS in
That's
Seoul,
right.
2017, is
17.
when we figured out that we're both working with the same company on the same data, and then
Anyway, so it's out. It's online, and Jay is forthcoming something. It's cool. I like you, right? It's cool. And you're right. It's the firmware. Let's look at firmware.
And
Firmware
this
kinda
is
cool.
one of the cool things. So, Philip, I don't know how I started working with you. You came to visit me at Georgia. Julian, I met through you. And it's so funny that the two of them run into each other at the Paperathon. And now you guys, you have this project. Are you doing any other projects? Or
little
just
things here and there.
Yeah. So and you're probably friends. Yeah. I think it's so cool. That's another part of this that's really wonderful about this is you find the people you kind of like, and then you hang out with them.
That's
And
one of the
it's
big
a
perks
fun-
of this profession. Absolutely. You work
Our
with your
discourse is
friends.
not very respectful, though. It gets very nasty.
Yeah. Also, they're both 6'4", big shoulder frames. I want to put them in a ring. Can we put them in a ring and
Who would
lube
win?
them up with oil?
Well, now that's a little perverted, Wrecker. I don't want to lube
I
anybody
didn't
up
mean
with.
that. It was just a joke.
All right, so listen, we went long.
Yeah.
I think we were celebrating the pleasant time we're having, and I think our field and our chosen profession kind of at its best. Right?
Absolutely right. And one of my student Steffi is here. It's her very first conference.
She can crack beer tops open with her
well,
foot.
she's also an intellectual, so she's presenting. She presented her paper yesterday, and she gets on stage and she aced it. Very professional, right? And she's loving it. And she feels engaged, and she feels motivated, and she loves her life choice of doing this. What more do you ask for? This is wonderful, and it's the same for me. I go to the conference, and it energizes me for the next 6 months. I want to be an academic. I love what I'm doing.
Only this conference, not every conference. I've been to a few where I am not as energized.
No,
as
well,
others.
that's
why
really,
this is my favorite
This
one.
is why I have a bounce in my step these days, except for the mornings after.
Yeah. Afternoon. All right, Philip, what else? Did we cover everything you had on your
I
agenda?
think you nailed it. Absolutely. And thank you for inviting me, even though I have no business being on your podcast.
No, you do. We're going to have you didn't talk enough. Next time we get you on, you're going to have to tell us some stories.
But that's Philip. Philip is a quiet person.
He's low-key.
Yeah.
He's self-effacing. You know what? When you're as handsome as Philip, you don't have to talk. You just have to stand there. And,
one of the many
We'll
benefits.
cut some of these really horrible pieces out of the podcast.
You leave it in that Nick Barenti thinks I'm handsome. You
Oh,
leave
yeah. Come on. Everyone thinks you're handsome.
Everyone thinks you're handsome. Yeah, so we're back. Probably not all the time in such a wonderful studio. So big shout out, big thank you to CBS and Attila Marton, who organized this fantastic recording studio. I want to have it at home now.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal. So CBS, Copenhagen Business School, right here in the beautiful city of Copenhagen. It's really probably one of the premier, if not the premier, information systems group.
No, it's a top business school
in Europe, certainly, and among the best in the world, right?
Absolutely.
And whenever they do his publication rankings, CBS is always right up there in the top few.
That's right.
We have tons of IS researchers, and then, you know what? Well, Philip, so you're here. You're also in Norway. This sort of discourse, like the couple times I've been to Copenhagen, I feel like that happens at your university a lot.
I'm not pandering to the CBS people. That's absolutely what's happening at CBS. The things that you mentioned about an interdisciplinary, pluralistic, respectful, humble discourse, that is happening at the department. Yeah. It's a great place.
And I think sometimes some department, and this is it for junior people, there are two primary kinds of departments. There are the really nurturing, constructive, people engage with each other, they collaborate with each other. I think that happens here in CBS. Those are the wonderful departments. And then there's the other kind, which is not that. So it can be sometimes outright toxic, or it's just no one shows up. Everyone is like an independent operator. Yeah. No one's ever there. So, but CBS, I've been here a couple times over the years, and I'll tell you what, this is a special place. I think you're fortunate to be here. I think we're fortunate that Attila brought us here.
This studio is fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity to do this. Yeah. This is fun. We should do this more often. In fact, we'll come here every week.
Yeah, let's come back. Christmas time.
Christmas time and do it again.
All right. Later, brother.
Later.
See you guys.